Hello and welcome to the Make More Placements podcast. If you're listening live in the Make More Placements Facebook community, give us a comment, let us know where you're tuning in from. If you're watching this on YouTube or iTunes, Spotify, anywhere else, remember to like and subscribe as well. And share this with anyone you know who may also be interested in growing their recruitment or search business. The first place to get these episodes is in the Make More Placements Facebook community. So if you're not already a member, go ahead and join that, and then you'll get these live every single week. And then we obviously post a recording on YouTube, Spotify, and all the other locations as well. Before we dive into the content, today we're going to be covering a topic called why most recruitment and search business owners struggle to win new clients and how to make sure you're not one of them. It's going to be the first part in a series of episodes we're going to do with a similar theme. We're going to be doing numbers 1 to 5 today, and probably next week we'll do 5 to 10 and so on, and we'll keep building on it because as we were preparing and planning this episode, there's lots of things we wanted to add to the list that we didn't have space for, so we tried to sort of chunk it down into several episodes as well. Just very quickly, these episodes are sponsored by a software that's been built specifically for recruitment and search business owners to win more clients. It's called Placement Box. You can find out more about it at placementbox.io. It's the world's leading AI-powered client attraction tools built specifically for recruitment, staffing, and executive search business owners, and it's packed full of purpose-built client attraction tools ready to plug and play into your business so you can start attracting more clients the very same day that you sign up. Again, this is a tool that we recommend to all of our clients. It's a tool that we use in our own business. Again, I highly recommend it. And if you go to placementbox.io, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial so that you can try out the software, get some results, get some leads, get some clients in before you actually have to even pay any subscription. So that's placementbox.io. Right, so let's jump into it, right? So why most recruitment and search business owners struggle to win new clients and how to make sure you're not one of them, part 1. So look, the reason we decided to do this episode or this series of episodes is, obviously me and Terry have been working with recruitment and search business owners for a very long time now. Again, Terry, I think sort of 30 years, going on 30 years now, me 10 years plus, right? And every single day we're seeing, so in the LinkedIn post on your websites, in the words you say that you're on calls, in words that you don't say as well, we're seeing you and other recruitment search business owners engage in activity that's actively repelling clients, actually actively stopping you winning business. And I think with the majority of recruitment and search business owners we speak to on a daily basis, like that's the one area they struggle, right? They're okay finding candidates, they're okay with the delivery part, they're okay even with the sales part. A lot of them, the one thing they struggle with is bringing the clients in, right? Bringing the clients into the business. And there's a very few tweaks you can make to the way you're doing things currently to make sure you're not one of the ones that struggle, and make sure that you start getting results in all of your business development activities. And we're going to be sort of unpacking some of those in this series of episodes we're going to do. Terry, before we sort of dive into number 1, anything you want to add to what I've just said there?
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head about most recruiters are very good recruiters and they know how to recruit. And most recruiters, independent recruitment business owners, typically they work for a larger firm and they decide to go off on their own. And one of the things that they hadn't factored in or considered a great deal, maybe this is the reason, is you've got to win business. Sales and marketing is the lifeblood of any recruitment or search firm. And if you haven't got a way of doing this, you're going to have problems. And that's the problem that, as you say, most recruitment and search business owners have, is they haven't got a predictable way of bringing in new clients and generating more revenue for the business. You can appreciate the problem with that long term if you can't do that. So if you're an owner or recruitment of a recruitment or search firm and you want to discover how to do that, and also some of the things that Drew touched on, some of the things that you must not do that actually repel clients and candidates, keep listening, because I think it's going to be a bit of an eye-opener for you. So yeah, let's get into it, Drew.
Perfect. So let's dive right in. So number 1, or the first thing that you're doing that's actively repelling prospects, actively repelling clients from signing up to your services is, one of the things we see a lot of recruitment and search business owners do is that they're going after prospects who are hiring now and neglecting relationships with prospects who are hiring in the future, right? So they spend all their time actively hunting prospects, hiring managers are hiring right now, and in doing so, they're neglecting the relationships with hiring managers that are hiring in the future. Terry, can you just explain a bit more what we mean by that, some of the implications, and why you need to stop doing it right now if you're one of the recruiters who are doing that?
Yeah, one of the challenges we all as humans, we want what's called instant gratification. So we want to reach out to somebody and say, are you hiring at the moment? And then say yes, and you say, great, I'm going to help you with that, and get that instant hit. And I think it's understandable seeking that, but if you sort of step back from that and acknowledge at some level that probably isn't serving you. So if you're talking, there's two types of buyers. There's the now buyers. So they're buying right now. These are hiring managers that are buying right now, and there's future buyers. But if you speak to a now buyer and you say, are you recruiting? And they say yes, it probably means they're already working with a couple of your competitors at least, maybe even more competitors. So what you enter into then really is a rat race. And there is a possibility that your competitors had a head start on you, because if your competitors reached out to that hiring manager just a week earlier on that same job order, they've got a week start on you on that particular job order. Now you may argue, yeah, but although they've got a week start on me, I can still fill this. And you're right, you could still fill it. I'm not disputing that at all. But what we know is with contingent recruiters that most of the time, most of the job orders you work on, you don't fill. So the further you are behind that queue, this queue of recruiters that are working on it, the less likely you are to fill it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were to find the future buyers, so you speak to a hiring manager today and they say, we'll be recruiting next month. We'll be recruiting next month. In fact, we're going to look into recruit in the next quarter. Then you've got a head start over your competitors. Now you can nurture that relationship so that when they're ready to pull the trigger, you're in with a much better chance. And it's not a case of just getting the job order and competing with half a dozen of your competitors. Also, what that means is your chances of filling this are so much better. And what that means is that you're going to work less and earn more. Because if you can get your fill rate from, let's say, 50% to 80 or 90%, kind of get here now that you could do a lot less work but earn substantially more. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. Anything you'd add to that, Drew?
Yeah, again, I think you hit the nail on the head. The only thing I'd add, or I guess reiterate, is that when you do it this way, you also you're also going after the prospects you're also going after that part of the market that has the most competition, right? So you've got let's say 5% of your market that are hiring right now, and then you've got probably like 95% of recruiters going after that small 5% of the market, right? Whereas if you spent more time nurturing, building relationships with people who are hiring in the future, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. What we always say to our clients, like, your goal is to be the first person that the hiring manager thinks of when they're ready to buy, when they're ready to make a hire, right? I think the way that I see a lot of recruiters approach business development is they're going on job boards, they're looking for people they're hiring right now on LinkedIn, and they're looking for job posts and doing they're sort of getting late to the party, as Terry says. And again, we're not saying you can't win business like that. You definitely can, but the business you win, as Terry said, is the business with the most often the most recruiters already working on it, so it's harder to fill. And it's just we find a lot more success if you build relationships with hiring managers who are hiring in the future rather than the ones that are hiring now, right? So number one is going after prospects who are hiring right now and neglecting relationships with prospects who are hiring in the future, right? So I want to dive into number two. Number two is not spending enough time, effort, energy, or resources on business development, right? So most recruitment and search business owners don't invest enough time, effort, energy, or resources into business development at all. Terry, again, can you explain a bit more about what we mean by that, and again, some of the implications that you see with the recruiters that you speak to?
Yeah, typical recruiter, when they haven't got any business, no job orders to work on, they get their head to the grindstone and they do some business development. They then do some business development, they win some business. So they get their head to the grindstone, then they're delivering on those assignments. As a consequence, not doing any business development. So I would argue probably about 80% of recruitment and search business owners we speak to, they have this famine and feast where one day they're drinking champagne and eating caviar, and the next day it's bread and water. Because they're not doing the marketing or not spending enough time or effort on the business development on the regular and consistent basis. And the fact is that if right now you haven't got any business to be working on, it's an indication of what you did a month ago, 2 months ago from your business activity. Because I can almost guarantee that a month, 2 months ago, you were busy on the delivery. And as a consequence, you've got no business to work on now. You would be so much better off if on a regular basis you just constantly and consistently were working on your business development, because then you've got a steady flow of warm leads coming in. And the other thing to add to this as well, that if you have the scarcity, there isn't much business around, you tend to take on crap business thinking, well, crap business is better than no business at all. But if you've got a process in place where you've got a steady flow of leads and a trickle of leads and inquiries coming in, because you're always working on your business development, you become more selective about who you work with, and you're less likely to take on that lousy work that we've all been guilty of at times, of taking on lousy work because our view was it was better than nothing. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense. And I think, the vast majority of recruiters I speak to, the business development is the thing that they dislike the most in their business. So they know it's important, they know it needs to be done, but because they don't like it, and because they're probably just not getting results, probably adds to that as well. It's almost done as an afterthought. It's almost done. I know I need to do this, but I don't really like it, so I'm just doing it as just doing it to, I guess check the box, right? We find the most successful recruiters, they prioritize their business development. So most of their time gets spent on it, most of their energy, most of their resources, most of their investments in terms of when they think about and growing their business, they're not thinking about how do I become a better recruiter, or they're not just thinking about how do I become a better recruiter. A lot of it is how do I become better at bringing in clients, right? And we always say that it's not the best recruiter that wins. It's not the best recruiter that dominates the market. It's the recruiter who is best at business development, right? And we see it all the time. Recruitment and search business owners who aren't necessarily good recruiters, aren't even necessarily good business owners or smart business owners, right? But the one thing they're good at is sales and marketing. They're good at the business development side, right? And because they're good at that, they win more clients, they win higher fees, and they do that more consistently than the average recruiter in the market. Terry, does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. Spot on. Yeah.
Perfect. So moving on to number three. So the third thing is that most recruitment and search business owners don't have a proven and predictable marketing process in their business. They don't have a marketing process in the business. And when we say process, right, what we mean is a series of actions or steps that are taken in order to achieve a particular result, right? So in this case, it's going to be, when we talk about marketing, it's going to be to book a sales call, to book a sales meeting in, right? So your business development is going to fall into two parts. We've got marketing, and then we've got sales, right? And the job of marketing is to give you more sales opportunities, right? And most recruiters sell either going to be a face-to-face meeting or on the phone. What we see from a lot of recruiters, they engage in a lot of LinkedIn posts, or they're doing emails, or they're making calls. They maybe even hire a company to help with their marketing. They even hire they hire business development managers to help with their marketing. Right, do a lot of activity. It's not a case of lack of activity, but the activity they've got, because there's no process to it, it doesn't usually end in more sales meetings, right? When you're doing marketing, right, it needs to, when you engage in marketing, the way to know it's working is, am I booking or am I getting more sales opportunities than I was before I was doing this activity, right? And when you have that process, right, you need it to be like a tap that you can turn on at any moment to give you more sales opportunities. Terry, anything you'd add to that before we move on to number four?
Yeah, I think the key thing there is having the activity and measuring the results. For example, if
Yeah.
you know that for every, I don't know, for every 1,000 emails that you send out, you get 10 meetings, you know what you need to do then to get 20 meetings. Clearly, you need to send out about 2,000 emails. But whatever your activity is, there must be a process that you're measuring the outcome. So this is the effort that you put in. This is the outcome that you get. I've got a number of friends who are in the fitness industry, and they say one of the problems for many people that go to the gym, they kind of random. They go to the gym, they might do a bit of running, a bit of cycling, might do a few
Yeah.
weights, but there's no process to it. There's nothing predictable about it to get the results. What we know is if you've got a consistent and reliable way, and you're measuring that, you can create any business that you want. Because if you want 10 times the outcome, you need to put in 10 times the effort, if that makes sense, Drew.
Yeah, makes perfect sense, right? So number three is no marketing process, and that's closely linked to number four, which is we've put as no sales process, right? So I just explained that your business development, on the basic level, is going to fall into two parts. We've got the marketing and we've got the sales, right? The job of the marketing is to book more sales meetings or more sales opportunities, and obviously, the job of the sales is to convert those meetings into paying clients, right? Get your terms signed, right? So problem one is that they don't have a marketing process. They're not booking enough sales meetings, enough sales opportunities, right? But then problem two is that even when they get in the meetings, there's no process during the meeting itself, right? So they sort of turn up to these meetings. And again, you see it from owners, which is one thing. But again, especially when they've got a team as well, we see it in the team from the team members as well, the recruitment consultants they bring on as well, that they've got no real process that they're following for sales calls, right? or sales meetings, right? And because they've got no process, again, it's not to say that they don't ever win clients, just that it's not predictable. So sometimes they win clients and sometimes they don't, and they have no real clue as to why they won the client one time and why they didn't the other time, because there's no process, there's no framework for the sales call, there's no script that they're following, right? And when we say script, we're not necessarily saying a word for word script, but a framework. Like, first we cover this, then this, then this, and this, and in the end it ends in a an offer to the prospect where we pitch our services and we get either a yes or a no, right? Sometimes we review sales calls with recruiters, and there's not even the point where they're asking for a yes or a no. They're not even actually asking for the business, let alone the rest of the framework or rest of the process as well. And again, you'll be surprised, or you might be surprised of how often it is that we hear a sales call or a sales meeting, we review it, and there's no actually framework, right? We can listen to same recruiter, two different sales meetings, and they're both completely different because they follow a different order each time, right? If there's no repeatable process, no predictable step-by-step process, this is how I do sales calls. Step one is this, step two is this, step two, three is this. Again, we're going to be repelling clients from joining your business. Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's a bit like I don't know, if you go on holiday and you get on board the flight 123 to go to wherever, and you got talking to the pilots and you said, "What's the process here?" And he or she said, "Oh, well, there's no process. We just wing it." You'd think, how unprofessional. And in fact, I'm going to get off this plane pretty quickly. Well,
Yeah.
sadly, for many recruitment search business owners, there is no process. They just wing it. And I'm sure you've acknowledged just winging it is a tad unprofessional. Just winging it means that you're leaving things to chance. And think about if you had a process that you knew that worked, and then you could bring in other people to join your business, and you say to them, "Hey, listen, follow this process. We kind of know the outcome. We know that your conversion rate will be 30-40% if you follow this process." And with a process, what it means then is you've got something that you can scale. Without a process, you can't scale. But if you've got a process, you say, "This is what we do when you get on the call with a candidate. This is what you do when you get on the call with a client." You've got this process in place. Now you're able to scale. Now you're able to duplicate what good looks like.
Yeah. Also,
Anything to add to that, Drew?
and I think you hit the nail on the head. So number four is no process, and then number five is not being prepared to stand out. So the fifth thing of doing that's repelling or actively stopping clients joining your firm is not being prepared to stand out. So again, it's something we talk about a lot on, in the various places, other episodes, and in our training programs as well. The way we find that most recruiters approach business development is they look at what they either start a firm, right, and they look at what their competitors are doing and try and copy that, or and probably a mixture of the two, right? Or they probably was employed as a recruitment consultant before and saw the way their boss did it effectively, and then they'll replicate that in their own firm, right? So what we have is
Yeah.
what look-alike firms doing the same thing in the same way at the same time. And from the client's point of view, there's no way to differentiate from each firm, from firm to firm to firm, right? So just two things, right? One, it makes it difficult to get higher fees, right? Because I don't care how good you are as a recruiter, right? If your approach to business development is the same as someone who's a bad recruiter, and me as a client, I can't differentiate you, right? So if they're charging 15%, 10%, and you're charging 20%, why am I going to pay you 20%? Right? Doesn't make any sense, right? So that's one problem it causes. The other thing is, like, even if the fees are the same, right? So you're charging 25%, your competitor's charging 25%, and their competitor charging 25%. If I'm working with 5 firms already, why am I going to choose you? Right? There's nothing to differentiate you, and the more, like, again, to be completely upfront, I completely get that standing out, putting your head above the parapet, so to speak, is scary. It's intimidating. You have to be prepared to get criticism. All these things I completely understand. But if we're not prepared to do that, we're not going to win the business we want to win, right? So number 5 is not being prepared to stand out. Terry, anything you add to that before we wrap up?
No, I think the point you made at the very beginning is that most recruiters look at what other recruiters are doing and tend to copy it. A statistic worth noting is that 80% of recruiters that start today won't be around 6 years from now. So if you're copying what the majority are doing, there's a very good chance they won't be around 6 years from now because what they're
Yeah.
doing isn't working. So maybe worth considering that. And as Drew rightly said, for you to get business, you're gonna have to stand out from the crowd. You're gonna have to put your head above the parapet and be that bit taller than everybody else. So trying to be like everybody else, this means you're going to blend into the background of sameness, for want of a better word.
Yep. Awesome. So that's all for today. Look, we're going to do part 2 next week. Again, the first place to hear that will be in the Make More Placements Facebook community. So if you're not already a member, make sure you go over and join. Just search Make More Placements into Facebook, and it will come up, right? So we will speak with you next time for part 2 of this. Until then, take care, take action, and be relentless.